It's noted as a personal entry account.
What?
Personal entry account.
What does it mean,
The only
Richard?
one who could get in is Bernie Lomax personally, and, well, he's kind of dead right now.
No, just hear me out. Just hear me out. Just hear me out, Richard. All we do, we go back to the morgue, we get the body, we go to St. Thomas, we take Bernie to the bank just like before. We're in like Flynn.
No way, absolutely not. I don't want to have any part.
Weekend at Bernie's 2 is a 1993 comedy film directed by Robert Klang that is a sequel to the 1989 surprise hit. Picking up immediately after the first film, Larry Wilson, played by Andrew McCarthy, and Richard Parker, played by Jonathan Silverman, have returned to New York City following the Labor Day weekend chaos after the death of their corrupt boss, Bernie Lomax, played by Terry Kiser.
Yeah. Every Labor Day, it's the same thing over and over. The bodies keep piling up, piling up. Big bodies, little bodies.
Do you need us anymore?
I got some papers for you to sign.
Need some papers for you to
Well,
sign.
go ahead, Rich. Sign them.
I don't want to sign them. You
Well,
got
Richard, you have better penmanship than I do.
Sign here.
Okay, if I sign this, does that obligate me to pay for his funeral?
No. It's just for his personal effects.
Oh.
You're related to him, aren't you?
He was my uncle. Do you have a pen? Huh. Thank you. That was very close.
Your uncle?
Hey, I'm walking here. Oh, my. So what, the guy had no family? Then it's going to admit to him anyway, huh? Look at that.
Wait. Can you just save the grave robbing for later? Do whatever you need to do. Don't do it in front of me.
Whatever, Richie.
Returning to the company they've worked for, the two expect to be greeted as heroes who saved the company from Bernie Lomax's $2 million theft. Instead, they find skepticism from the company bosses about their involvement. They are put under the watchful eye of the company's internal investigator, Arthur Hummel, played by Barry Bostwick.
A few days earlier, we had uncovered some duplicate policies.
Yeah, duplicate.
You know, I'm just curious. Why didn't you go to someone besides Bernie Lomax? Weren't you just the least bit suspicious that your friend
No, that's not right.
was the named beneficiary in the phony
No, that's
policy?
wrong, Bubby. It wasn't my friend.
I've heard enough. There seems to be a gray area here.
There certainly does, sir.
And frankly, I don't think our bonding company would cover either one of you.
Well, that's okay.
You'll receive 2 weeks severance.
That's like instead of the raise?
No, that's like we've just been fired.
Over dinner, paid for with Bernie's credit card, Larry informs Richard that he found a key to a safety deposit box in the United States Virgin Island of St. Thomas. In the meantime, the mob that is still after the $2 million that Bernie stole from the company hire a voodoo queen named Mobu, played by Novella Nelson, to find the missing money after all of their attempts have failed. From the island of St. Thomas, she sends two servants, Henry and Charles, played by Steve James and Tom Wright, back to New York City to find Bernie's body, and to use her voodoo curse to reanimate him to lead them to the money. After they reanimate Bernie with a New York pigeon instead of the sacrificial chicken, Bernie is only able to reanimate when music is heard playing.
Get on the scene. Like a voodoo machine. Get on up. 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 The voodoo and the mobu. 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 Get on up. 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 Wow!
After the two men lose Bernie, he is again returned to the morgue, where Larry persuades Richard to kidnap Bernie's stiff body, stuff it into a suitcase, and travel to St. Thomas to open up Bernie's personal entry account. Richard goes along with the plan very reluctantly, and hilarity ensues.
Come on, Richie. Give me a hand, will you? Oh, you're doing fine by yourself. Just fine. Come on, B. Get in there. Piece of cake. Coast is clear. Get the taxi. Taxi! I just have one question. What about customs? What are they going to say?
Ain't no customs. It's America. JFK?
To the airport.
After arriving in St. Thomas, they stuffed Bernie into the hotel refrigerator, only to find his body beginning to smell horribly.
Oh! Oh! Whoa! Downwind! Oh, let's go. Okay. That's all. We'll put him on ice. Right. Keep that weight in the fridge. Huh? Get him to the back.
Unbeknownst to Larry and Richard, Hummel has followed the two of them to the island, and when he sees Bernie Lomax's body, he begins to think he's going insane. Bernie's safety deposit box only has a map, making Larry and Richard wonder if the $2 million exists at all. Larry and Richard also think they're losing their marbles when a reanimated Bernie disappears from their refrigerator.
What'd you do with Bernie?
What do you mean? He's in the fridge where we put him.
No, he's not.
Yeah, Rich, come on. I mean, I got a really bad headache, and I really don't want to... He's not in the fridge.
This is not funny.
All right, what'd you do with him?
No. What did you do with him?
I didn't do
This is
anything
something
with you.
so sick and repulsive. Only you would think of.
That's not nice, Richard. He probably just tumbled right on out, huh? Housekeeping. Housekeeping did it.
Yeah. Don't you think if housekeeping found a dead man in our refrigerator, we might have heard about it by now?
Good point.
Besides, I was here all night long, except for a couple minutes when I went conga dancing.
You went what? You went what? You went what?
Conga dancing.
You went conga dancing? Richard, you were supposed to be here guarding Bernie.
Guarding Bernie?
Yes.
Why would I have to guard a dead man stuck in a 2-foot refrigerator?
Well, try and get out of it, Richard. You were irresponsible.
I was irresponsible. I was here all night long trying to come up with a plan to get our jobs back.
You were conga dancing.
If you look up irresponsibility in the dictionary, there's a picture of your fat head lying next to it.
That is not
Give
fair.
me that.
That's not fair.
Why do I let you talk me into coming on schemes like
Fine.
this?
Well, just go to jail for some crime that you
All right,
didn't
God, I
commit.
think we're going to jail anyway. I mean, once the credit card companies catch up to us.
Larry befriends a native girl named Claudia, played by Troy Byer, who gives him advice on how to use the map to try and find the missing money. Now, this movie was filmed in New York City as well as St. John and St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Filming took place between March and May of 1992. The cast and crew, who were mainly from the Los Angeles, California area, were on location when the Los Angeles riots of April 1992 broke out, and they stated in a St. Thomas interview that they were very worried for their loved ones back home in California. In 2021, Jonathan Silverman told actor Bob Saget on his podcast that he was reluctant to do this movie, but it was fun to film, and it paid off for him in a big way.
And I thought, gosh, do I really want to do this? And ultimately, my agent said, and she said, listen, you could do this movie and make a lot of money, or you could just spend the rest of your career answering the question, why weren't you in the sequel to Weekend at Bernie's? So I finally said, okay, let's do it. Did the second one, and it was so fun to make. No, it was so fun to make, though. We shot the whole thing in the Virgin Islands. We thought, well, if people like the first one, they're going to love this, and it just tanked. It was just terrible. But a couple people enjoyed it, I suppose, and it bought me this house, ironically. I went right from doing that movie, and I put the money, and I bought this house, and so I'm grateful for many reasons, but especially that.
Originally, there was a completely different actress cast as Claudia, but unfortunately, she suffered a mental breakdown 2 weeks into filming, causing production to recast with Troy Byer in the role at the last minute. A style of dance was created in the early 2010s called Movin' Like Bernie. It would be used in many internet videos and even showed up during some sporting events. Released into theaters in July 1993, Weekend at Bernie's 2 grossed a total of $12.7 million on a budget of about $15 to $17 million. This made the movie a box office disappointment. The original movie is one of my personal favorite films, and this sequel obviously falls far below the first. I think the idea of the voodoo aspect to the plot really caused the film to tank. You already have to suspend disbelief to watch the first film, but it is realistic enough. For this sequel, it is way beyond suspending disbelief that Bernie Lomax could become a moving corpse that dances because of voodoo magic. As actor Bob Saget told Jonathan Silverman on his podcast in 2021, the zombie dance stuff might have been what really killed this movie.
Do you think that movie would have been a bigger hit had he not turned into a zombie? And just stayed dead. Take the check and stay dead.
Idea. Yeah, I suppose if we tried to sort of recreate the first movie and just maybe right after the first one ended and just kept the same shenanigans and hijinks, perhaps. But there's certain movies that most movies never should have a sequel. I've been in a lot of those movies that should never have a sequel. That definitely is one of them. I don't want to say it tainted the first one because it wasn't exactly an Oscar-winning film, but people often say, "Love Weekend at Bernie's." Ooh, the sequel. Yeesh.
Nevertheless, it is great to see Andrew McCarthy and Jonathan Silverman back together as the characters Larry and Richard, and spoiler alert, to have these characters wind up living in the Virgin Islands off of an extra $1 million that Bernie scammed from their company is a very satisfying way to send off these characters.
You know the $2 million that Helmut was looking for that Byrne stole from the company? Yeah? There was 3.
You have $1 million in here?
We do, buddy. We do, except for about 8 or so grand, which I had to pay off on Bernie's credit cards. You know, all that stuff you charged.
We can't keep this money, can we?
Why not?
We don't know who it belongs to.
That's the beauty part, Richie. It doesn't belong to anybody. It was there to be claimed, and so Larry claimed it.
I'm sorry, Larry. I just can't do it. It's not right. I'm sorry. I don't feel good about it.
I understand.
You do?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's all right. That's all right. By the way, did I neglect to introduce you to the crew?
What are we waiting for? Hoist up the anchor. Let's go.
How does Monte Carlo sound to you this time of year?
It sounds lovely.
Monte Carlo, ladies. To us, Richie.
While nothing compares to the first Weekend at Bernie's, if you're a fan of the first film, I recommend the second film. I'll give 7 stars to the 1993 sequel, Weekend at Bernie's 2.